before I left Kenya, I went to another school, which was it was a much bigger school, much more, it was very, it was a subsidized school as well. So that we saw lots of different, types of people from all sorts of walks of life, children and grown up. It went up to the age of 18, you could be there. Yeah. And I was probably 15, 14. And that was an interesting change for me because, really smart kids as well, but really open much more open education. You weren't so hothoused, and the teachers were very kind of bigger classes. And so that was kind of tricky, although I really enjoyed it. I felt very, very unintelligent there.
So you went to that school until what age? And then
I think I was 16, and then I came to England.
And why? Where did that come from?
That kind of was, if your parents could afford it, and you had an interest in doing your A-levels abroad and then going to university, and usually it was England most people went to from Kenya, then you would do that. And people would do their A-levels in Kenya as well and then go abroad, but that was kind of my kind of point of launch. So I went to my mum looked at some schools here, boarding schools, and then she found this really small girls' school in Eastbourne. Yeah, and then because my aunt and my granny, the original granny I talked about, she was living in Brighton at the time. So my dad bought a flat in Hove. I went to school in Eastbourne. I boarded there. And that was, really small school, only girls. And I did my A-levels there, thinking I was heading for law. Yeah.
And when you were at that school, was the rest of your family back in Kenya?
Yeah, my brother was still there, although he followed 4 years later. He didn't go to England. No, he did. Sorry, he came to England to do his A-levels, and then he went into hotel management school. But he had a slightly different path.
Yeah. How did that feel, being just shot off into the world?
Crazy, actually. I really wanted to come, but I was so it was a culture shock, huge culture shock. And, then I'd been in co-ed schools all my life, and then going to girls' school was really interesting because I was very comfortable with boys, and the girls weren't. A lot of the girls weren't. So they were very wild, if you like. So every Saturday they would kind of go out, and the purpose was to just meet boys and all that. And it was really, I had friends like me in that boarding school. In fact, my roommate, who is one of my best friends, she and I felt the same. It was like crazy, we'd come from co-ed schools, and we were interested in going out and wearing nice clothes, going out to town, looking at shops, eating nicely. It wasn't the boys was not the focus there. In fact, most of our old friends from home that's who we wanted to go back and see. And I was very much like trying to fit in. So that you come here and you've got all these people who are wearing very different clothes to what I'd ever worn, and you have to kind of understand the fashion and the weather fashion and have a coat. We never had coats, and we never had warm woolly skirts, and it was, you could wear what you wanted at A-levels, literally wear. So I went and got a wardrobe. My dad sent me off with a friend who was also at the school, and she'd been there a year before, and we went shopping, and I bought all these really like pencil skirts that I couldn't walk in, and really inappropriate kind of, not necessarily warm enough clothing. And that was really interesting.
That's funny to reflect on. That's hilarious. It's like, go buy your dream wardrobe.
Yeah,
it's like,
I know, and you buy the
most.
You don't know what to get, and you don't know what at that age. You don't even know what suits you, right?
Exactly.
And
You're
then
kind of looking around.
Absolutely, you. And then it was some of the girls were really into the punk look as well. So they were wearing, very lots of pointy black boots, and it was so. I'm like, I've come from Kenya, and where do what's my style? I have no idea. And that kind of carried on in university as well. I kind of imprinted a bit from what people were doing around me,
and just kind of trying to fit in again.
Yeah, trying to fit in.
And do you have, because I'm sure, coming from Kenya, coming over here, this huge culture shock, do you have a specific memory of like a difficult thing that you had to overcome?
Here?
Yeah.
I was homesick actually initially. I mean, we'd had a really kind of lovely home life, and food was awful. Boarding school food was dreadful, really dreadful.
Tell me about that.
Yeah.
What kind of food was it? Well, it's like British food.
Yeah, so. It was just saveloy, which is this kind of like long Frankfurter things, and I mean they're just horrible things. Toad in the hole, and they do a curry. I'm Indian, so I mean their curries had apples, and they were just awful, and raisins.
Oh my God.
It was just like nothing like I was
like
used
home.
to. Yes, nothing like home. Some things were okay. You kind of found out what was okay to eat and stuff. Breakfast was good. I mean, it was toast and orange juice and cereal. You can't mess that up. But yeah, the food was. So my friend, my roommate, actually, she was half Indian, half English, and she lived in Portugal, and she loved Indian food. So we learned very quickly how to make a curry because we could cook on a Saturday.
Yeah.
So we'd cook curries and stuff, and
that's really
in the school. Yeah,
that's beautiful. And is the primary language in Kenya English?
It's English, but the national language that everyone speaks is Swahili as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So at home, what do you speak?
We've always spoken English, sadly, because my parents can speak fluent Punjabi. I can understand it and speak it, but I never really got very strong with it, so that it became a really fluid tongue that I could pass on to my children. So they're really angry with me. They say, you never taught us Punjabi. Yeah. It would have been nice for them, I think, to have that. Yeah.
Why do you think English was the primary thing at home?
Just because my family were kind of modern, I think, and my mum and dad might have spoken it more together. They did. Punjabi, but with us, they just automatically reverted to English.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And was that kind of similar throughout your friends and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, they can all speak their mother tongues, but then they talk to their children in English, and it's such a shame. They're all my peers and friends from Kenya have done the same thing.
Man, and now of course, like. You always wish what you can't have, I suppose. It's should have done that. But it's nice that you still have that connection, that you're still able to speak.
Yeah, because it's such a rich language as well, so when you can actually really appreciate some of the words, the vocabulary that doesn't exist in English, and then use it, it's like, it's so much fun.
What's a piece of vocabulary that doesn't exist?
Oh my God. I don't know. It's like it may be a description of food. You could there might be a word that just doesn't an English word won't actually fit for that. It's just like tantalizing food or a description of someone's behavior. I mean, it's just there's no parallel. Yeah. I'm trying to think. I'm struggling now. But if it comes to me, there are so many words like that. Or even, abusive terms. They're funny. They're really funny because they're just so rude and so, but you use them in kind of common parlance, And, So when you use it and it's like, it hits the spot for it, it's like you can't stop laughing.
Oh my gosh.